Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check, brought to you by BB. There is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about markets. Welcome back, guys. Continuing to kind of kick off this month of June. Happy Tuesday. Hope we're all having a great start to the week thus far. Markets are doing what they do, right? We were kind of a little bit down yesterday. We're kind of a little bit green today. If you guys are familiar kind of with the way that we tend to trade throughout the week, Monday we get an impulsive move, Tuesday we get some reversion, and then after that we typically see kind of our more true directionality for price. But we're going to talk about it with you all today, kind of our expectations for where we think Bitcoin and ETH are going, obviously where Sol and meme coins fit into that equation as well. We'll probably talk a little bit of equities as well. I'd be remiss not to start the show by talking about, I think, the strength, the resiliency that this market has shown. Despite the dip that we had yesterday, you have beta already attempting to break higher, but I don't want to get too deep into the analysis just yet. Because you guys, if you haven't watched the show, maybe you don't know who we are. I'm Tommy. You also know me as Snorlax. I'm joined by Max and, of course, Louis Tuesday. Maybe we're joined by Chef Jackus today. I'm not sure, but regardless, we're gonna have a great show for you guys today. Before we can get deeper into, I think, the intricacies of kind of what we're seeing throughout this market, I'm gonna ask if you guys can hit that like button for us, right? And, I actually, it's not a kind of, I do joke whenever we have green prices across the watch list. If you can't hit the like button on a day like today, I know we're not pumping too much yet, but that's something that we'll discuss on this show. If you can't hit the like button on a day like today, then when can you? But yeah, let's talk about some of those intricacies, right? Because I'm looking at my watch list, and yesterday we were a little bit red, I think, showing some weakness, most notably on something like Solana. Today it's kind of the opposite, right? We're seeing some of that mean reversion, prices kicking back. Speaking of returns on what that we see throughout the week, Tuesdays, it's a kind of ironic, typically tend to be our most bullish ROI days of the week. I think Thursdays are the most red. Maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not a total surprise that we're seeing this strength out of the market. I think, on today of all days, will it turn into, the beginning of kind of that next leg higher that we've been discussing? Will it lead to a pullback? I think for me personally, I'm just kind of leaning on my analysis on some of these Bitcoin and ETH pairs, right? Specifically Solana. I was telling Max and Louis before we went live, I actually think maybe the most promising thing that we're seeing today is that Solana has actually been strong, right? It's up 3.5%. And that's not to say that I'm expecting Solana to begin outperforming, but if we're expecting Sol ETH to be breaking down and Sol is able to give a next leg higher towards $200, $210 before, maybe it wants to range, maybe who knows what Sol wants to do. The point is, if Sol is going to trade towards 200, towards $210, and Sol ETH is breaking down, it probably means that ETH is about to put in a huge candle. Maybe we're seeing that telegraphed right now through certain DeFi assets, right? Like AVE, like MKR showing lots of strength. I think it's an interesting little slate that we have here on Tuesday's show. But yeah, we'll see what we get, guys. That's pretty much my opening thoughts. Equities, there's really not too much to discuss. I don't think there will be too much to discuss on equities this summer unless we have some very unexpected spike on volatility. But we've talked about this before. I don't think the structure on the VIX is necessarily super constructive for a sustainable downside move. But yeah, what are we seeing, guys, in the market today?
Bullishness.
I think things look pretty good here, man. I was talking at length this morning on our pre-market call with our community about how what's really giving me the most confidence that we move higher from here is a combination of really two things. Starting with tether dominance. Okay. We were watching for the scam to take hold, which it did. And it's basically the same scam playbook that they run. Here, let me move over to the USDC one combined here. it's basically the same scam play that they like to. It's like they do the same thing over and over and over again. It's breakdown range, right? And then what you see here is like you run the high right here. Drop that down. You run the high. Oh, bull market begins. Final scam, and then little pause and nuke. What we saw here was the exact same thing. Run the high, bull market begins, the final scam. We look like we're breaking down here. Okay. It looks like we should be starting the move immediately. So tether dominance, this is actually USDT and USDC dominance, is doing more or less the same playbook that we saw before the last run up. And by the way, it's not just one example. They do this time and time and time and time again. Let me find another example of it. Oh, this is one of those charts, makes me go to the daily. Okay. This is a prime example. I wish I could get more granular, right? But it's like they run the same scam playbook here where it's like, look at this. Oh, we're breaking down, bull market begins, scam wick higher than it begins, right? It's like we even, we scam wicked here again. It's like they like to do the same thing over and over and over again. Like look at this one. This one was really aggressive. This was the ETF one, right? Right here. Bull market's beginning. Here we go. This goes all the way back to, this is the ETF, right? Bull market beginning, scam higher, then the leg begins, right? It's point me showing you this. We could go through example after example after example. Is, to me, it looks like we're just running the same old stablecoin dominance distributive playbook that we've run numerous times. And I think this should be the start of the next leg immediately, right? Immediately. Like, I think it should be even as soon as this week. There's always a possibility they go back for one more scam, which, then would bring ETH down to that, in my view, kind of crowded level that a lot of people want, and for good reason, of like 2,200. But to me, this looks ready to go. Like this to me looks like we're breaking down actively right here. It looks like we are just about to start the move. Okay. So this is one chart. So this is giving me all the confidence to say, like, we were talking to our community about this when we were down here. I said, I'm looking for this scam high to get taken, just like over here. But on top of that, what's really giving me some confidence is Bitcoin dominance here. What we've seen here now is the following. This trend line goes all the way back to the beginning of December. This to me feels like we broke down from like a long-term multi-month trend line, left supply up at the highs from a deviation of this blow-off wick. This to me, this whole structure right here feels like a shoulder, okay? A shoulder forming from a breakdown where we are retesting supply overhead while bouncing into a shoulder, okay? So this tells me, really only one thing at this point. Bitcoin dominance, with Bitcoin being strong like it is today, and we're moving up a little bit, Bitcoin dominance doesn't move down while the market is nuking and moving down lower, okay? Bitcoin dominance moves up when we're nuking, okay? This to me feels like it's about to roll over any second. Either we come back up to this level and take out local supply, or we just nuke from here, I could see us moving up to here where Bitcoin dominance moves up with the broader market as Bitcoin leads back into price discovery, which is super healthy. But beyond this to me feels like a complacency shoulder from a breakdown of a 4-month trend on Bitcoin dominance. So it's like we combine the two charts together, and I say stablecoin dominance looks like to me that it's completed its scam wick higher and it's about to nuke, which is bullish for crypto. And then you combine that with Bitcoin dominance looking like it's about to break down from its shoulder, to me screams alt season. It screams alt season. Now, I know I'm a bit of the boy who cried wolf when it comes to alt season. I know. I get it. Okay. They've been early. I'm not wrong. All right. So I'm looking at these charts in Confluence together, and I'm saying Bitcoin dominance looks ready to nuke. Okay. It looks ready to nuke. Maybe one more little pop higher, but ready to nuke. Tether dominance and basically just stablecoin dominance looks ready for lower immediately. So I combine those two together to kind of paint the full picture of like, I think we're ready to go. I think we are absolutely ready to go. And we're starting to see a lot of altcoins, the strong ones, begin to kind of curl up off of important levels. Tommy had mentioned, I think either on stream or to me right before, Solana looks like maybe it wants to try to take a stab higher, which would be good for the broader market. To me, this looks like, deviation of range low, held at demand inside the range, getting ready for a break higher. I mean, it's like the charts across the board are telling me that we want higher. Okay. So I think there's a lot of really solid plays here that I would consider to be layups, right? We're getting really close. We're getting close. And based on stablecoin dominance, I feel like it's sooner rather than later, personally. So anyways, that's how I'm feeling about the market. How are you guys feeling about the market?
Yeah, I mean, just like I was saying yesterday, Max, we were looking at, I think we looked at 10, 15, 20, 25 different altcoin charts. And I'm looking at all these charts. I'm like, this is where you bid. This is where it happens, right? Extremely bullish here, Max. I mean, I play these cycles very similar to you. I've been pretty much bullish since 2022, right? Riding this cycle out as a whole. Obviously intra month, intra year moves or stuff that I do in between that. But this is when the fun starts, right? Like it's coming. Like I think it's here, right? You got the Russell looking like it's ready to blast back to old all-time highs. That's a very, very key risk on indicator we've looked at for crypto. We haven't touched on it recently, but we were looking at this, 4, 5, 6 months ago. You start breaking higher, you're back inside major market structure here on the Russell, right? So you establish yourself up here. You're going back to the old all-time high, and this time will likely be the true breakout. We got stuffed at the old all-time high, back in November. This will likely be the true run for the low cap stocks for Russell. That's a massive risk on indicator for crypto, because essentially crypto is technically beta to low cap stocks in a way. I think they're maturing a little more, and we're actually, crypto is pretty much front running the Russell at this point. Used to tail it. That's a great indicator, right? Stocks looking strong. Looks like they're pushing old all-time highs. Bitcoin flirting with price discovery. Altcoins had massive rallies off the lows over the last month. And we were seeing pullbacks from those pumps. And that was the market giving people a second chance, right? That was the market giving people a second chance. Was trying to, pull that message home yesterday. And pretty much after the show or later in the day yesterday, ETH started to move, right? ETH started to move. Bitcoin's now starting to move. I'm extremely bullish here. I'm exposed as I can be. If I was 100% exposed back in January, February, I'm now about 110, 120% exposed after doing whatever I could to get more exposure to the market at those March and April lows. And this is the time, right? And there's a lot of talk about, we're never getting an alt season again. You're never getting a crypto cycle. And my argument to that is, do humans still have emotions, right? Do humans still experience greed, right? Do humans still experience fear, right? Because at the end of the day, a market is a combination of humans buying and selling. Sure, you have algorithms. Sure, you have, market makers and all that. But at the end of the day, it's humans, trading back and forth and using those same emotions over and over again, fear and greed. With Bitcoin trading, probably, what's probably going to be the last leg, if not one of its last legs, historically, that's when we see major profits being pulled from Bitcoin. People start moving down the risk curve, bidding ETH, bidding, high cap altcoins, and eventually that trickles down to the rest of the altcoin market. I think that's where we're at in the cycle, right? It's taken a little longer than we thought, but I think we're here. I really do think we're here, and everything, what we're seeing today, it's one day, right? But this has been a culmination to get to this point. The sentiment is great too, right? With Bitcoin trading literally at its old all-time high, flirting with the breakout to head into price discovery once again, and the general sentiment is not even close to being euphoric. Not even, people are bullish here and there, but the general sentiment is not trusting the move, looking for pullbacks, looking for bearish scenarios. And that's exactly what I want to see, right? That tells me we have room to run, right? Room to run. When a true topping happens in this crypto market, people are not even going to be discussing the possibilities of downside to tops. It's going to be, what's the next ticker? How high can we go? That's going to be the discussion at the top. Tops don't happen when Bitcoin stabs above the old all-time high, drops a little bit after a 50% run, and everyone's looking for a cycle top. That is not when cycle tops happen, right? Cycle tops happen when no one's expecting it to be the top, right? We get good news after good news after good news. How could price possibly drop? That's when we'll see a top. We're not even close to that. Altcoins pretty much all sitting at value area lows here. It's time to go. It's time to go. I don't know what else to say. I'm bullish.
He's bullish. And Tommy's gone. He just dropped. And I'm seeing things like, Pepe making significant local reclaims with Bitcoin, showing some strength here. It's like, for one, let's just look at the cycles chart real quick. Everybody keeps saying this cycle is different. And to them, I say, how so? What are you talking about? Because I look at this right here and I say, it really isn't. Like, every cycle has little characteristics that are different from previous ones, but this is 9 years of data right here, and it looks really similar. We got a little out in front of our skis in March, just like March 2020. We were a little bit behind schedule, right? And then we ramped quick early last cycle because of all the QE, and like every cycle has little things that make it different, but it's like this, it looks like we're kind of right on track, and this is the ramp part. This is where the ramping should begin. And someone asked about Pepe, right? Like, well, let's talk about Pepe and Boys Club in this regard, right? Because I spent a bit of time this morning talking about it, and I'm telling you, this is the biggest layup in all of crypto right here, is the Boys Club trade. The second biggest layup to that is probably Per and Hype, honestly, but we'll talk about that. I look at this and I say, actually, let me even just show you. I've got a different chart. I posted this yesterday. We got a little bit of work to do, right? But I'm seeing some similarity structurally to like this right here, where you get like a trend line breakout, markup, from the breakout, sideways, scam lower, take out the lows, and then you run it. This to me feels exactly like the start of a major run that's about to occur, guys. Right here. Like this to me feels just like February of 2024 and November of 2024. Similar structure, long-term trend line breakout, structural shifts, big leverage rinse right before we really start running. Like, I genuinely think like the next 60 days could just be bananas, man. Absolutely bananas. And, like, then we extrapolate that out to what I would consider to be the biggest soft toss in all of crypto, right? So this is our trend line right here. This is the significant level that we're stuck under, and we need to watch out for, right? This is that level. It's as clear as day. This is that level. Okay. You flip this gray box, there is no looking back. Pepe is going to be up in this region. Okay. When you flip this level, there's nothing left. You even have your previous all-time high shoulder as Confluence, when you get reacceptance back into, a previous all-time high distribution zone, which is again coming at this level where it's like you have this diagonal trend and then your all-time high supply shoulder, the underside retest. You flip this red box and this gray box, it's over for the Bears, man. They're dead on arrival. That's it. I don't want to hear anything bearish if you get back above this level. I'll allow you to be skeptical down here if you're a trader, but it's like you get back above this, it's like it's time to start the next markup phase. This was a giant reaccumulation. But then expanding that out into, Andy, and by the way, Wolf is the same chart, okay? This is what I want to talk about in terms of like this being genuinely one of the biggest layups in crypto, okay? It's going to be, people are so caught up with the low time frame price action and the local valuations, the low time frame valuations. You know how quickly things can change? Like 1 week can go by and Andy can quintuple in like 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And everybody forgets like how quickly things with these small caps can change. But I look at this and I literally say, like, what more evidence do you need here? Like, what more evidence do you truly need than looking at these charts, me showing you that they're completely identical through good times, through bad times? We have gone the stress tests that Andy and the boys club have endured over the past year should have sent all these projects to zero and then some if they were going to go there. But their correlations have remained perfectly intact to Pepe and ETH and the broader market this entire time. Same trend lines. Everything identical, okay? Every single thing is completely identical. Everything, okay? So it's like what we're talking about here is a layup, okay? Because what's likely going to be happening with Pepe, in my opinion, and I can always be wrong, it certainly would not be the first time. At a minimum, 1618 here, but I think genuinely we probably look forward to the 2618. There's some fib confluence up there. I'll even draw it for those that are naysayers, okay? So first giant range to range low. Look at how our 2618 lines up perfectly from our first accumulation to our second. This is your level. This is your hot spot. This is where I think we're going. This is your level of fib confluence for Pepe. Okay. Let me just remove some of these lines because we don't need them. I know we topped at the 1618 the first time. We're going to ignore it for now. Okay. So you look at this. This is likely where Pepe is going to go, in my opinion. Okay. So then you look at this chart and you say, okay, Andy's the same chart here. Okay. It's the same chart. What we had here was a range, the same range with symmetrical, and this was an MEV wick right here. I remember it quite well. Jared from subway.eth. We had a symmetrical range deviation range high, deviation range low, similar to what we did over here for Pepe. Same exact charts, identical. Okay. Identical levels. Now, all we need to do, where are my fibs? Where'd my fibs go? Okay. Whatever. I think because I adjusted the scale, they're all off here because in order to get it in log mode, I had to multiply the scale, whatever. All you need to know here is if Pepe ends up in this range, then Andy's going to end up in this range. Okay. So for Pepe, I think you're looking at a monster move. Somewhere in the neighborhood of like a 6-7x from here. Andy's staring down the barrel of an absolute kingmaker. Okay. I don't know how much more clear the pair charts could be. I don't know how much clearer the correlations could be. It's all laid out here, through horrible market-wide nukes and through tremendous upside. The boys club has stood the test of time. And the charts remain identical. The pair charts remain perfectly correlated. Well, what if this? What if that? Okay, well, what if Pepe just goes on a ripper and Vic Ripper and Andy rips 2,000% right in your face. You know, what if that? You know, what if that? Because I look at this and I say, you know, it's super hard to time exactly when a parabolic move is going to begin. It's like, you know, Pepe could make you wait another 12 hours or another 12 weeks, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I think it's going to happen from here, to be perfectly clear. That's my bias. I think it's going to happen this summer, like 60 days to glory. Okay. And those that say that's impossible, well, look at this over here. Look at this. The last time that that Pepe did this, it went up 10x in 39 days. We don't even need 60 days to glory. Give me 39 days to glory. Okay. So things can change incredibly quickly. Okay. So when I look at this chart, I say there's some layups sitting right in front of most people, and they don't even realize it because they're so caught up with like, oh, we just had a local pullback and like Andy's down from like the local high. And I'm just like, please don't miss the forest through the trees, guys. Please don't miss the forest through the trees. There's so much more. There's so much more meat on the bone of the higher time frame move, and this is going to go down as one of the most historic pair trades in all of crypto history, guys. It's going to be biblical. They'll make a Netflix special about it. They will. There's no better pair trade in existence than right here. Yet everybody wants to like 5 minutes scalp a micro cap instead of just holding and waiting patiently for Pepe to finally fulfill the prophecy of 50 billion that was foretold in the middle of 2023 by yours truly on this YouTube channel. If you don't believe it, go look at our videos, not the streams, the old videos, the pre-recorded videos, and search Pepe, and you will see when the prophecy was first outlined. So anyways, the question is not, are we going to pump again? And Max, how does Andy look? The question is, when is Pepe going to flip that damn red box and gray box? And when are we going to ride this thing to 39 days of glory? That is it. Hit that damn like button or I'm cutting the stream off. That was a cook. You got to appreciate that, guys. Hit that like button. Come on. I cooked for you. 5-course meal for free on the house. Someone cut me off. Come on, Louis. Say something. I know you're full.
Who are they going to use to play you in the movie, Max? What do you think? Who's that actor that everyone says Max looks like?
Oh yeah, what's the guy's name again? I don't remember his name. Someone a while ago kept saying I look like him.
Yeah.
What's his name? I could see a little bit. I don't know.
I don't remember who it was. Oh, it was what's his name?
It was what's his name? Yeah, you're right.
What's his face?
Michael Fassbender. That's
who it was.
Fassbender.
Do you guys think I look like Michael Fassbender in the comments? Do you think
we need to pull up a picture? Jackus. Even though that's pretty.
Of who? Michael Fassbender?
What?
It's in the comments. Just copy paste it.
Mind wouldn't.
Nah, I think you look like that guy from The Wire. Who's that? I don't even know what that is. The Wire.
The Wire. I don't know. I never watched.
I mean, Pepe's about to be on a wire to 50 billion here pretty soon. That's what you're talking about.
Oh, this guy. I know him. I just didn't know the name. Let me try this one. I suppose it looks the closest.
Yeah. That's pretty close, man.
What do we think? Do I look like Fassbender?
No, Fassbender looks like you, bro.
Fassbender's a Pepe whale.
Nobody's ever seen Max and Michael Fassbender in the same room before. Cool.
Oh.
Ooh. Nobody's ever seen Tommy and GCR in the same room before.
Sorry, I had to get a good laugh out of that.
Nobody has ever seen Tommy and the alleged
No.
football
Jackus
player
is doxing
in the
himself.
same
That's
room.
Johnny
crazy.
Manziel.
This is the first time that Jackus has ever shown what he looks like publicly. That's a picture of Jackus last year at his birthday party.
Oh, that's
It's
Tommy.
crazy you're doing that, Jackus. Wow.
That's clear Tommy.
Jeez.
Guys,
Theo James looks like Max too. Who's Theo James? I don't even know who these guys are, man.
have you done it?
I don't even know if they better hit the like button, man. That was just a freaking cook session. Theo James.
Who's Theo James?
I don't think I look like this guy. I mean, maybe like 1%. I appreciate this though, because no homo, these are all like good looking actors. So I appreciate it. At least it's not some just like, some absolute Frankenstein of a guy. So thank you guys for that. But I don't know if I really look like either one of them. Yeah. I'm once again asking you to smash the like button. Let's see what we're at here. 141. That's not bad, guys. That's not bad. Bob Lucas 60-day cycle. Okay, not to be this guy, Bob Lucas also sold his Bitcoin on the drop. So just wanted to maybe throw that out there. Not that somebody has to be right all the time, but it's like I don't even I don't understand his like he just draws like arrows on. I don't know how he calculates his cycles. Like he'll just throw like arrows below and be like, this is like a 37-day cycle or something. I don't even understand. To be fair, I haven't really looked into it, but I do remember him selling his Bitcoin on the drop. So that's not to discredit him. I know he's like a time-tested investor, but it's like I don't know if I put a lot of weight in like mini cycles, not to be a hater.
I'm not pointing finger at anyone. I'm just saying that I often see someone, saying like they are completely out of the cryptocurrency market. And then it pumps and they're like, I told you so. And I'm like, okay. I suppose. Yeah.
Never sell all your crypto, guys.
Wait. Evan Casey, is that you?
Literally.
Never
I was thinking about him when I said that.
Never sell all crypto.
ETH is at a very peculiar level here locally. This is what we were watching this morning was we need to get back above this level locally right here. We're rejecting from it right now, but if ETH can manage to climb its way back up above, 2660, 2670, then I think you probably rule out lower. And I think you probably start that next leg higher, right? So right now, it's trying to, it's getting scammed down a little bit. But it's like, this could just be one of these, like, they're going to just chop it into the highs and then finally let it go. But this is your local level right here. Like if you can clear these highs, I think you just start flying, right? I don't have that firm of an opinion exactly like if we'll go a little lower or not. Like I could see them do this, given my bias with like stable coin dominance, like this wouldn't surprise me, and then higher, then reclaim, and then we go. But going back to like the stable coin dominance charts, it just feels like it wants for ETH to give that low. You know what I mean? Like the low that everybody wants. And by the way, for good reason. I see the setup. It's a pretty obvious setup, right? Like let's look at it. Okay. for ETH to give that drop that everybody wants, which is like, and I get it. I see the setup, I understand the technicals,
Yeah.
Everybody wants this. And then they're okay with higher. In order for this to happen, you'd have to see stablecoin dominance push new highs again. Which, given the structure, I don't know how likely I think that is, personally. I don't know how likely I think that is.
It could happen. It's always on the table, right? And people mistake like us being bullish for not acknowledging it. Like, you don't think we all see this as like a possible scenario?
Are you
My
telling,
argument
calling for one more sweep of the lows, Louis? Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't personally think we're going to get it, but it's something that I know can happen easily, right? You have a clean set of lows to sweep. My argument is, why are you getting, why care, right? Like where alts are, right? Alts have already, had nice pullbacks across the board. Sure, if ETH and Bitcoin drop another 4, 5, 6%, one, it's likely going to be a quicker pullback, in my opinion. Two, alts may have a knee-jerk reaction, but the way things are looking, alts are pretty much where you want to start accumulating, right? Plain and simple. And that's just how it is. Sure, ETH drops, alts will drop a little more, but if you're not there staring at your screen 24/7, you could miss that final dip, right? And then you're left you're left just sitting there. So in my opinion, sure, it's on the table, can totally happen. I just like, why trip over pennies chasing dollars? You know what I mean? Like, the bigger picture is up and to the right, so why are you gonna be nervous and scared over a little pullback, which is, due anyways, from accumulating swing long bags for the next 3, 6, 9 months at a minimum? That just doesn't make sense to me.
I think, I've kind of been in the camp looking for kind of that pullback on ETH. I really have a hard time seeing it trade at even like back into the low that we set, in mid-May at this point, just given kind of my read on, I'm going to continue to lean on the Sol ETH pair here, which obviously I'm expecting lower, just kind of benchmarking my market thoughts based on this pair, more or less. I do think this is headed into 0.05 very, very shortly. Probably, I don't want to say it's as soon as this week, but it could be as soon as this week that we get 0.05 on Sol ETH. If that's the case, what Sol does is going to tell me a lot about what ETH does, right? And which is why I kind of highlighted the Sol pump that we saw this morning, and it could just be kind of a pump into a bearish retest. But I think the flip side of that is, if I'm expecting Sol ETH to head into 0.05 and Sol actually legs up towards like 200, what does that mean for ETH? Mathematically, I know what it means for ETH, but
I mean, it kind of looks to me like it wants to do this and then give you your level, just like a little baby, like, you know what I mean? Like, this looks like a breakdown to me. Breakdown. Retest this supply right here. And then
like, I think
the only thing standing in its way is this green box, right?
I think we see 0.03 on Sol ETH within like 6 weeks.
0.03
within 6 weeks.
So let me move this down then. Okay. 0.03. Tommy thinks we're going here.
The last comment.
Yeah, I know. No, I'm not gonna get. I'm not gonna turn this into like a whole Sol ETH thing. I'm just saying. I think leading into the pair when we feel like we have high signal from it, and if that's the case, if Sol is going to be showing relative strength or weakness, is going to tell you everything about what ETH is going to do.
Why don't we actually do that? Why don't we actually look at all of them together and have some fun? So up here we have ETH and SOL. So I'll mark them out here. ETH, SOL, and then SOL ETH. So let's walk through what could potentially happen here. Okay, so if we think that SOL ETH over the next week could go down here to 0.05, you said, Tommy, in the next week, roughly?
I think so.
That's about a 20% drop, roughly, okay, from current price. If that were to happen, and let's just say ETH went to 4K, 50% move.
I mean, that's
So
SOL into
ETH
200.
bleeds 20%, then that would imply that SOL USD goes up about 30, so like 210.
Yeah. I mean, I think if SOL is legging up here, that 200, 210 spot is a good spot for it. I do not think SOL is going to outperform this summer. And I actually think, if you were to tag that level, it'd be a fantastic swing short. But, I'm asking myself here in the short term, right? If SOL is going to leg up higher, just mathematically speaking, that's my expectation on pair, then ETH could be 4K, not so far away from now. But I think that's like difficult for me to kind of wrap my brain around at the same time. Like ETH putting in a move like that. I'm very bearish on SOL ETH, obviously, but yeah, I think what SOL does here is going to tell us a lot.
I kind of like how this matches up because SOL has this like all-time, like this giant Trump deviation supply right here. I like the idea of it underside retesting that level. I think that'd be pretty clutch. And then ETH's basically all-time high. I mean, it's high of last year, 4,100. Be a 56% move. SOL puts in a 37% pop to the all-time high supply. And then, Tommy, you get your 0.05 level, right? And of course, it won't play out exactly like that. But it sounds like if we're going to be bullish on the market, then this is probably what this pair is actually telling us. Because I know we talk about this pair a lot, but we just to add a little note to it, we talk about it a lot because it's so important. Like SOL has been such a barometer and leader in this market for so long, this entire cycle. And to see it breaking down potentially against the laggard of this cycle being ETH is a major monumental cycle shift that deserves to be talked about every single day because of the ripple effects that would come from it actually breaking down, right? So I know we talk about it every day, but it's for really good reason, right? It basically would require a complete 180 rotation of capital and shift of focus from the Solana ecosystem to the Ethereum ecosystem. So, yeah, I mean, this would be really fun, man. I'm getting tired of waiting. I think it should be time soon. The one more sweep of the low boys are driving me crazy, though. It's always one more sweep of the low, you know?
Always.
It's always one more sweep of the low.
I mean, it's kind of in that environment.
The high, you know, when one more sweep of the high.
It sadly has been that. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, this is kind of like the last level of supply, I think, for Bitcoin and ETH. If you're just kind of looking at a volume profile measured on those assets since the Trump pump that we had in November, for ETH, we are trading right now into the highest volume bar that you have, within kind of since that time period. And same with Bitcoin, maybe not quite the highest volume bar, but we are at value area high. So, I see the argument for both here, right? Which is why I just want to lean into pairs here. Because I mean, we're not exactly talking about small moves on Sol ETH. I mean, this is a pretty massive move that we're discussing.
Are you talking about like this volume bar here, Tommy?
No,
This...
the green one to the left of it.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get back above that. Clear skies, my friend. Clear skies. I'm looking at Bitcoins. I mean, you're just like, oh, I don't know. I mean, it just seems like we should blast off here. I don't know.
Just watch for a volume breakout, right? You see how that volume's descending, right? You get a nice meat stick volume candle. That's just confirmation now. Like it's the real breakout, in my opinion.
I mean, it's basically this thing what you're talking about, Louis. Like this guy right here, because that candle, this is the breakaway, you know.
And that's the thing too. Like you see how volume's kind of like descending. Like that's indicative of like continuation, reaccumulation, not distribution. Like everyone's saying, if this was distribution, you'd be seeing way larger volume, in my opinion, right? So I could imagine a big old volume meat stick coming in and just breaking that descending trend of volume there, and then starting the next leg. That's what you want to look for. Mm-hmm. Is this available on BB Terminal?
It is. I made this one myself. It's called Statistical Volume. Shows you very clearly where, I mean, look, prime example. This bad boy was this candle right here.
Yeah.
Huge selling at the highs, right? And then it shows you right here. All these buyers got trapped. They got absorbed, right? All these guys that bought right here underwater, and then they puked, right? So it's pretty cool, a little indicator. Just kind of gives you a little bit more information, right? The important stuff. All right, guys. Well, we're going to run a quick little commercial break here, guys. Quick little commercial break, and then we'll be right back. But enjoy the commercial.
Tired of outdated trading tools, confused charts, dozens of tabs, endless stress? You're not alone. Introducing BB Terminal, your all-in-one command center for crypto trading. Track your portfolio, monitor the markets, stay ahead, all in one place. From chaos to clarity, from struggle to success. BB Terminal.
Well. BB Terminal, guys. Check it out in the link below. You can use our free portfolio tracker, our free super charts with all of the important information that you guys could want. But if you really want the meat and potatoes, over 300 indicators, portfolio tracking, on-chain data, all that fun stuff, guys. Check it out. All right, bbterminal.com. Support BB and support your trading journey. Give yourself all of the tools necessary, all in one place, bbterminal.com. Louis, you got any charts for us, brother? I'd love to see what you got.
Charts, huh?
I know you got some charts. It's a silly question.
I'm a chart nerd, man.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, let's do it. Hold on. Here we go. Am I up here?
There he is.
Yeah. So, Bitcoin daily here looking beautiful, man. Trading at the old all-time highs, right? Back in January. Love to see it. And we're seeing a little pullback. What people have to realize is this is a 50% run from the lows in April, guys. So pullbacks are expected, right? But we people have to switch their mindsets, right? Because the last year and a half, I mean, more so altcoins, right? We're kind of in ranging, chopping environments, right? And a lot of people are stuck in that mindset, and I don't blame them, right? It's been, every pump gets retraced, sweep of the high, back to the lows, all that stuff. But I believe we're beginning to enter into a trending environment. So with that, you kind of have to change your mentality and change your strategy because we're in a whole new market environment, right? In strong uptrends, pullbacks are going to happen, right? Pullbacks are going to happen, but just because, we swept a high here does not mean that, okay, we're going to do this, right? Can it happen? Sure, right? Always on the table. You should always expect, a big scary drop after a big run. What I see here is just running into resistance, right? After a long run, right? And in my opinion, I'd much rather see consolidation and reaccumulation up here before we get the move, right? Before we enter price discovery, if and when that happens. Because although, the greedy side of me and the bull in me obviously wants to do this, right? When we're up here, right? Who doesn't want to just see Bitcoin go like this, break all-time high, no stops, and just run? Everyone wants to see that, right? But what you have to know is that if we were to do this, right, and not really consolidate and reaccumulate up here on the upper half of the range, you're likely, if we got this move, we're going to get a bigger, scarier pullback here, afterwards. Which this would be nice, but a lot of people would get caught off guard, right? Just because the euphoria, in a massive breakout like that. So the technical side of me likes this price action up here, right? Run the high, get stuffed at the all-time high resistance, first try, not a problem. Reaccumulate in here, start to reclaim, candle bodies here, reclaim the range highs. And then if we go from here, now that we've had some time to, consolidate, wash out late longs, chasers, trying to catch the breakout, which is healthy. And then we go, this move we get from here is going to be way more sustainable than just going like this, in my opinion. Right now we have market structure. We have all those things I just mentioned happening here. Now we have a sustainable run. Now we have a healthy pullback and then another leg, right? So you have to look for in trending environments, look for the runs, look for the pullbacks. They're not always going to be steep and deep. And look for continuation, right? Look for signs of continuation. So in my opinion, the daily time frame perspective, I'm looking for daily closes back above 106K, right? I think daily closes back above 106K, which puts us, closing back in this white, the range high here, this range high area, gives us a green light for higher, right? And that's what I'm looking for, right? And that's what I've been talking to the Discord a lot about, right? So although we could expect this, right? Expect to drop into here. This is obvious pullback territory. This is your absolute shove spot if it happens. No qualms about that, in my opinion. Anywhere from 98 to 101, 102K. This pinkish box here, that's always on the table. But if we start closing daily candles up in here and gain price acceptance back up in here, I think we're setting ourselves up for a nice, sustainable next leg higher, right? And that's what I'm watching, right? That's what I'm looking for. Daily RSI, bouncing off the mid-range beautifully here, right? We got into these overbought levels, which took us from here to here, that 50% move. And now we're coming back to the mid-range, right? So want to see the mid-range hold, want to see this start to trend back to the upside. Very similar to what we saw here, right? Very similar to what we saw here, right? Bitcoin started breaking out, didn't exactly get to these overbought areas, but, started breaking out, came back, retested the 50 on the daily RSI. Boom, you get the big overextension to way, way overbought levels, which we haven't reached yet, right? We got overbought on the daily RSI, but we still have room to run higher up in here, right? This is where we came last time we broke out. So liking the bounce on the daily RSI, liking the, reaccumulation, consolidation up at here at range highs. I'm not looking at this as like a deviation of the highs back to the lows like you're seeing all over Twitter, right? The 2021 all-time high. That's just not like, I feel like people are getting psyoped into thinking that as well, right? Like the last top was a double top, sweep of the highs. Do you really think they're going to do the exact same thing again? I mean, anything's possible. I think this is pretty much a little trap to get people suckered into that. With the algorithms are obviously pushing that all over Twitter as well, right? Over the last week and a half, that's all I've seen. I can't go on Twitter without seeing, charts like this, Oh, 2021 high, right? Tops in, that's not where I think we're at here. So sure, we can consolidate. We could even take a dip into here, totally fine. Changes nothing from my, long thesis going into the end of the year. This is your shove spot. Could even do this and then something like this, but extremely bullish on Bitcoin here. You're trading at the old all-time highs. You have a beautiful daily uptrend here. And the trend is your friend, right? The trend is your friend. And all of this is happening while you have altcoins sitting at deep value bottoming structures, right? So I'm already positioned, right? But if you're not, looking at the Bitcoin chart, seeing what we're doing here, Bitcoin's all the way up from here from the lows. You have altcoins that are still chilling in this area. So chasing that catch-up trade with altcoins is what you should be looking for, in my opinion. So that's kind of my thoughts on the Bitcoin daily and my thoughts behind that.
Yeah, Bitcoin's been really strong. Honestly, if you just kind of look at the market structure of this current move, even just compared to kind of that consolidation that we had in very early May on Bitcoin, they look pretty similar, right? I mean, you had the attempted breakout that gets, it fails. You have the retest of the prior support level. And ultimately, that consolidation didn't break those lows. In theory, if Bitcoin is going to go, it probably should be going from here. Or else, yeah, you are looking at likely that deeper pullback scenario before higher.
And ETH looks exactly like Bitcoin here, right? And this is textbook bull chop, right? Something I've talked about before when we were here on Bitcoin. And just these vertical type accumulations or bull chop, right? Where price, every little drop, people think it's going to drop, but price keeps slowly grinding higher, and eventually they do break to the upside, right? We've seen it here. And comparing this to ETH right now, if we looked at ETH, looking very similar, right? Looking very similar. Where's my ETH chart here? I think it's this one. Yeah. Kind of same thing, right? Everyone's expecting the drop here. Totally possible on the table. You got, lots of liquidity in here. But people are waiting for that for Bitcoin when Bitcoin was in a similar structure. While ETH kind of just vertically accumulating, bull chop, bull chop, bull chop. Everyone's waiting for the drop. Boom. I think we likely get the push up first. And I'm eyeing, 3K, 3.1K as my next area of interest, right? I had, I'm running leverage longs from like 1,500 down here. And I had plans of taking profit, up at 2.8K, right? As we were, when we first got here. But the fact that we've consolidated up here for, almost 2.5, 3 weeks now, If we do get the breakout, we're likely not stopping at 2.8K. We're likely coming up into here, and then maybe we can see a pullback up here. The problem is people don't trust this. They'll start to chase this move as that comes up, like, fuck, okay, didn't get the pullback. Now I got to chase. And then you could possibly get that scarier pullback, but likely it would just be a retest of here, right? So in altcoins, you're better off bidding when ETH is in here. So kind of how I'm looking at ETH as well. The EMA trend looks great. Let me put that on there here real quick. Trying to push off these EMAs here, right? Above all the daily EMAs and SMAs and MAs I have, trend looks super healthy. We've reclaimed this macro range we have here. Clear established range lows with this market structure from here back in September of 2024, back inside. So sure, we can do this. We kind of already did that here. Do we do it again? Totally on the table, right? But I'm looking for continuation, right? I'm looking for continuation. And again, noting the daily RSI, we just touched on that with Bitcoin. Just like look where price has gone every time the daily RSI has gotten to these overbought levels, right? Each time, we've taken a trip back to range highs or 4K, right? We did it here. We did it here. Does that mean we have to do here? No, definitely doesn't mean we have to. But the data says the likelihood is high, right? The likelihood is high that we do that. So this looks like a massive, massive reaccumulation. This was your big old deviation back inside the range. We're just looking for the spring, right? Whether it comes from where we are now, whether we come a little deeper and do it. But again, going back to that same concept, why trip over pennies on this little move when we're looking, the potential outcome is this, so, ETH looks bullish here on the high time frame to me.
Yeah, I think pullbacks on ETH will probably be pretty shallow. Obviously, it's always going to be a bit Bitcoin dependent, but yeah, I'm going to sound redundant, but yeah, just leaning into the way I'm kind of viewing these pair charts right now. I don't think that you're going to see that much weakness on ETH unless Bitcoin is just like, wicking into 90K or something insane like that.
Yeah, we got Pepe here. Beautiful run off the lows. And now trying to flip old resistance into support, right? Beautiful pullback. Was telling the Discord, was telling the, live stream viewers yesterday, like, this is, these are the spots you want to bid, right? So sure, can we do something like this and chop around and reaccumulate before going? Sure, absolutely. But you're in the area, right? You're in the area, but just know, right? Pepe starts flipping these highs, getting back above and starts, gaining price acceptance back up here. You're likely going to start your next leg, right? So we're right there. We're literally right there. So I'm not going to trip over pennies looking, if this happens, when we're looking for this, so, Pepe, another one looking great and super strong, right? A lot of altcoins have pulled back way deeper, right? Off their initial pump off the lows. Pepe holding the high ground, right? Continuing to show strength. And again, will likely be a leading meme coin / altcoin, once we get that sustained break of all-time highs for Bitcoin.
I'm not sure what to think about Pepe, but I'm not, bearish on it. It's just kind of like beta is obviously showing a bit more variance on a lower time frame, or really rather like the high time frame setup looks good, right? But do we see, is this a bearish retest for Pepe before we potentially put a lower low in? I'm not really sure. Pepe looks a lot weaker than ETH right now, but I'm not necessarily bearish on it. I think it looks better than the Soul memes, for example.
Yeah, I mean, totally understandable. Like this could, underside retest, maybe we get this stab. But again, this is your area, right? So again, you got to be buying on red days, right? Not on green days. If you're buying on green days and you're chasing this, that's how you get trapped if this happens, right? And you get caught underwater, and then you're messing up your mental. You're staring at your drawdown. You think you bought a bearish retest. But if you're buying here, right, on the scarier drops coming into support, and you're buying down here, and you do get this, or something like that, you're not really you shouldn't be, you're likely going to be underwater at some point if you do get the sweep, but nothing scary to the point where you're going to want to like sell it all, right? So I always preach, buying on red days, not on green days, right? Because if that does happen, you do get that one more sweep, you're sitting comfy until you get here. And then all you got to do is watch how price reacts down here. You start, you dip in below, you get bought back up, you hold this gray area, you start to push, you're safe, right? You start seeing something like this and you roll and you're starting to not hold on to this. Okay, maybe, you bought here. Okay, I was wrong, cut here, invalidation directly below your buys. And then you look for your next possible area of interest, which would be here, right? And that's the name of the game, right? That's just trading. That's investing. You're not always going to buy the Pico low. You're not always going to sell the Pico high. It's about putting your buys in the best spot to have success and to not experience that drawdown too long. And you do that by not chasing this, but by buying this, so.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if there's a world where ETH just comes down into 2,500. To be honest, like it might not have to dip deeper than that, given the strength that it's showing.
Yeah, I mean that's totally right. This is on the.
That's
table.
a world that I'd like to live in.
Here, but then likely going to be something like that, right? So are you going to be smart enough, quick enough, have the testosterone to buy this before it does this? That's most people just don't pull the trigger, and again they'll be chasing the pump again instead of buying.
Okay, I know I had to hop off for a call real quick. What did I miss while we were gone, Tommy? Is this true?
No, it's definitely not. I literally said I'm not bearish on Pepe.
Like verbatim. My heart was racing when I read that comment. I was like, did I drop off? And suddenly my longtime business partner, starts slandering the good name of Pepe in my absence. And I knew it couldn't be true, but I had to ask. I was scared. So
no, I said verbatim, I'm not bearish on Pepe. I think structurally it looks a little bit weaker than ETH. But, I think there's a world where ETH actually doesn't come that much deeper than 2,500.
What I could see, super locally, super granular, right? One thing to note about overnight moves, right? This was a nice little overnight pump, late night pump into last night for ETH, right? One thing to note, you have the ETH ETFs, you have all these institutions trying to get their hands on ETH. 9 out of 10 times these overnight moves or these weekend moves, do tend to pull price back into, kind of the origin or sweep. Likely that's probably to get bids filled. Honestly, that's how I kind of picture it and view it. So super locally, I know we looked good this morning. Is this on the table? This could be on the table, right? Backfill this. Scare everyone once more, right? And then you go like that, or you do that final stab. But again, the higher time frame view for me is a lot higher. So none of this scrabble here changes my long-term portfolio, right? And it just doesn't.
I think we're in the chop. I think we're in the chop before the breakout, right? Whether or not we end up pulling back and making some of these deeper lower lows before that happens is ultimately going to be entirely down to Bitcoin at the end of the day. But I do have, I'm going to echo some sentiments that I think a few of us have already echoed, which is that, if Bitcoin does puke too deep, then most of these alts are just not going to trend at all. They have to bounce here, which typically within that context, we do see majors bounce, I think, throughout this market cycle, but it's not necessarily a guarantee.
Yeah, I could see something like this happening today. If they continue to sell it off here, right? You got just clear overnight FEG inefficiency here. Pull price back to where it was Friday or Monday before the close, or at or near the close. Bids get filled. Big boy bids get filled. People get freaked out. Whatever they bought this morning, they start puking here, and then they send it. I've seen that over and over again in the last couple months.
I feel like a lot of the ETH strength right now that we're seeing is more than likely people front running a staking announcement that's coming.
Yeah, I saw some headlines about that. That's probably what it is, honestly.
I think the staking ETF is really just a matter of time at this point, and it will be interesting to see when they actually launch it, because we know they will. So it will be interesting to I'll be studying the day they posted on and what they have done before.
What do you think it would be comparable to, Jackus? Do you think it would be like Bitcoin ETF, or what do you think would happen there?
Yeah, I could see that. Maybe so with BTC, it was known for years it's coming too, right? Then we had sort of it's actually going to come announcement, but a fake one. Market realized that so many are unexposed, and then it started to run from 25 till 40K. So maybe slightly different situation in that context, and in that context, that lower time frame context will matter. The higher time frame context is just that it's incredibly bullish, and it has to pump the price similarly, because when the BTC ETF launched, it dropped the price locally, and then we saw the rally to new all-time highs in March 2024. That Q1 2024 rally, and I think we are going to see a similar one for ETH. But what I'm not sure about is, what I'm saying is, it's going to be interesting if they use the narrative to pump the price from the current or maybe slightly lower levels to 4K, or whether they're gonna wait for when price stalls beneath 4K, and then they're gonna use it to pump the price through 4K. And I could see all of those narratives, and I'm just a enjoyer of seeing how they use that playbook in live action.
Do you think we get a Cointelegraph candle, or Cointelegraph intern candle, where we pump and then retrace 80% of it and then send?
Yeah. I mean, that's possible too, right? So it will be, as I said, it will be interesting how they play it. I think everyone should just calculate in the fact that it is coming and that it will be bullish. And how they play it locally, that will be the entertaining part.
Yes, it will. Well, I remember the original ETH announcement last May. It's kind of hard to believe that was over a year ago. They just shot it up 700 points in 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite days in the market.
They rugged me right when I was given the market maker playbook. Interesting.
That was totally out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. Coincidence? I think not.
Absolutely not.
Sorry, I won't talk about that anymore. I'm sorry, overlords. Forgive me. Max looks locked in right now.
Do you think he is tweaking one of his indicators, or just
Probably.
longing something like leverage to the right? And
Pretty
he's
much
like,
a dev at this point.
Yeah, I'm tweaking something right now. I had a kind of a
Like,
little breakthrough of
wow.
something I'm working on.
Yeah, that face looked like, wow, I just figured out something.
Yeah, you were just like,
You wouldn't get it.
I would.
When
Only
10 minutes max, you'll get a 10 minutes max when Max has 10 minutes. Let's put it that way. I always tell myself I'm gonna.
And
like,
then it
make
will
them
not be
every
10
day.
minutes.
You know, I just busy. That's all. But I have something pretty crazy that I'm going to share with you guys at some point. I don't say this lightly. I created the best system in the history of the world. Thank you. Yeah, the meat stick system. I'll show it at some point. I think I'm driving my wife crazy with how much time I'm spending on it. Slept like 4 hours last night. Not good, but
the man is locked in.
My wife's been trying to get me to watch Love Island, and I'm just like locked in on planning out the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's so funny. I finish work like 9-10 hour day staring at my screen, sit down for an hour or two on the couch, and like laptops back out on the couch. He just rolls her eyes and falls asleep.
Is he thinking about another woman? And Max is like, if I tweak this little indicator just slightly, I'm gonna get, this percentage much better. You wouldn't get it.
that's genuinely what it's like. That's like that meme of the guy and the girl sleeping next to each other, and then she's like, I bet he's thinking of other women, and he's like, Bitcoin piece of shit. Like, all right. Well, guys, we need to wrap the show up here. All right. We need to wrap the show up. Can someone do the outro? I slept 4 hours. Can someone tell them why they need to sign up for Terminal?
Yeah, I can do the
Tell them all
outro.
about it. Do your thing.
All right, guys, we hope that you enjoyed the show today, talking about all things Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, Pepe, and pretty much everything in between. If you enjoyed the show today, we will be back for another episode of Market Check tomorrow at 11:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And a reminder that we are live Monday through Friday whenever the New York Stock Exchange is open. Of course, make sure as well to tune in for Market Talk with the legendary King Wabi. That is an X Spaces hosted through the Because Bitcoin account as well as his personal. So make sure to stay following and subscribed so that you can be notified not just when we schedule those spaces, but also when we go live. Lastly, guys, before we send you on your merry way, I just wanted to touch on the BB terminal here. Going to show you guys a little bit of a, it's obviously a snippet during the outro, but of course, always good to talk about it as well. Right. I mean, I say it all the time. It is your go-to tool for this cycle. Whether or not you are an active trader, a long-term investor, or even on-chain degen, you will find tremendous utility out of using this, right? I'm going to repeat myself. There is not one size fits all. Just because you don't like active trading, lower time frame, open interest, a lot of things that you typically see, from quote unquote terminals, ours is all comprehensive, inclusive. Like I said, we've got something for on-chain degenerates. We've got data for long-term investors to be able to make, educated investment decisions. So, I mean, there really is, I'm going to sound redundant, but we have something for everybody. So check it out, guys. We've got free portfolio tracking. Get your foot in the door. You're going to love the product. I promise. But yeah, that's it from us, guys. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow. But until then, thank you again, as always. Stay safe. Here is a snippet of the BB Terminal.
Tired of outdated trading tools, confused charts, dozens of tabs, endless stress? You're not alone. Introducing BB Terminal, your all-in-one command center for crypto trading. Track your portfolio, monitor the markets, stay ahead, all in one place. From chaos to clarity, from struggle to success. BB Terminal,